Thank you. Good morning. My name is Gene Barr. I'm president, Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry. And I want to thank all of you for coming out. I want to thank the U.S. Chamber for their work on this issue. The U.S. Chamber is one of our best partners on this and other issues. We appreciate the partnership and the support. And again, thanks to all of you for coming out. I'd also like to thank all of my colleagues up here behind me. We've been through, these organizations and these individuals have been through many, many battles on this over the years. And their support here today is greatly appreciated. Here in Pennsylvania, we have made some strides on legal reform here over the last couple of years. Last year, we instituted changes on something called joint and several liability, which is a doctrine that held that if you were minimally liable in any given case, you could be nonetheless required to pay 100% of the damages. We were one of 5 or 6 states that still had that antiquated concept, that job-killing concept. So we changed that. We've made some strides. The problem is two that really I'd identify that shows why we're not improving our rankings. One is Pennsylvania was so far behind when we started. We had so many reforms that needed to be done, and we have so much work that needs to be done. Joint and several, in our view, and the view of those up here who supported that, was simply the first and necessary step in continuing a long concept and a long charge on legal reform. Second, other states, you've noted here the ones that have improved, weren't running in place waiting for Pennsylvania to catch up from a competitive basis. They're moving forward. They're implementing their own reforms that make them more competitive, that make them more attractive for job creators. And unfortunately, we've seen that. Time and again, I hear from our members that they find themselves in Philadelphia court for no good reason. Look, I'm a native of the area. I love people to come to Philadelphia. I love being down here. Litigation tourism, though, is not one of the things that we like to see here in Philadelphia. We love people to come to see sports teams, to see the fantastic historic sites we have looking out the window here. Litigation tourism really is not it. The other thing that I think we've not talked about is the fact that when we have these out-of-state suits clogging Pennsylvania's courts, it denies Philadelphia residents and businesses their timely day in court. They have justice denied because their justice is delayed. We believe, and you're going to hear my counterparts here today talk about some of this, there are common sense reforms that we need. Venue change has already been referenced. Clearly that is one that we need to do. It's one that the medical community has received, and oddly enough, when we debated joint and several liability reform, we heard the personal injury bar talk about the fact that, well, joint and several is not needed because the reforms we did for the doctors and hospitals did a great job in reducing frivolous lawsuits. Great. Give it to the business community. That's all we're asking for. What we're asking for is what we have in place for doctors and hospitals at this point. That's simply it. Another very common sense reform that Dr. Heine will talk about here shortly is apology. Simply having medical practitioners, giving them the ability to say, I apologize. They can't do now because that's used against them down the line. There's many others you'll hear my counterparts talk here shortly about, but I did want to thank, I know Lisa mentioned the local chambers here, but I wanted to thank them again by name. In addition to Joe Mahoney from the Philly Chamber, who you'll hear from, we have, as mentioned, 5 others. Alex Charlton from the Delco Chamber, Dan Bates from the Lower Bucks Chamber, Cheryl Kuhn from Southern Chester County Chamber, Bernie Dagenet from the Mainline Chamber, and Marianne Martelli from Chester County Chamber. Thank you for coming out. Thanks to all of you for coming out here supporting this issue. Thank you.